and I wouldn't be surprised if it did give some of these gains back. So I'm looking at this, as a possible opportunity to try a short in the high 35s. Above 36, though, all bets would be off. We've also had another stock in the sector, similar. Accenture reported last night, or actually they reported this morning, didn't they? They're shaky, jakey. $1.15 versus $1.09. So ACN actually trading up here as well. That stock is up at 78.5 right now. Went out at 75.62. So ACN here is actually coming up here to some major resistance as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just gonna kind of zoom into that chart there. Hit at was that 78.25 is the high that I'm seeing there. I can grab you the numbers on that one, but
Yeah, bid 78.50 right now, so it has popped up even higher. There's a seller up there at 79.20. This is super, super light volume here. Only 4,000 shares have traded. I will tell you the three tops up there in late November, we had a 79.45, a 79.24, and a 79.30 high right on the button.
hmm
So up in the and where this guy's offering up at 79.20, there's probably some resistance up there. I'd imagine you get up in the whole 80 area, you'll have resistance up there at the point too, because it has been up to 80 and since the beginning of the year. So wouldn't surprise me if it does run into some resistance, especially with some options expiring there tomorrow. You've got to remember, and this is the key thing when you're trading this kind of stuff, and you're only a day away from major option expiration. It's the third Friday of the month there tomorrow. Whole numbers come into play. The options that have, look at the, the open interest on some of these options, because once they start to get close to some of these big numbers, then they start to get drawn into them as the market makers and the people that own those options are jockeying their options positions around the actual stock price. So keep that in mind there if you're trading Accenture. I think 80 will be major resistance for both those reasons.
yeah, I mean it's definitely a solid report. $1.15 versus $1.09 estimate. Revenues came in at 7.4 billion versus expected 7.25 billion. You also, I mean, I guess we didn't really get guidance from Accenture yet, but the report's looking strong. Got to watch that call because I think that's probably when they're going to drop some guidance on this one. So we'll have to kind of stay tuned on that one. Did have a couple of other major reports this morning. I'll kind of hop into some of those. I don't know, Dennis, are there any specific ones you want to go into first? I don't want to steamroll
Well,
an agenda
jump
over
into
there.
this Darden
Sure.
Restaurants DRI. This one's interesting actually because it's got a few things in there. I'll let you grab the actual numbers, but what I found interesting is that they were talking about spinning off the Red Lobster unit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so that's interesting. Yeah, they're planning to spin off Red Lobster. They are still going to maintain their per share dividend of 55 cents. It's saying there.
Yeah. I mean the report itself wasn't very strong though. I mean you had
Yeah.
it was 20 cents was expected 22 cents. Revenues came in at 2.05 billion was expected 2.07 billion. So that kind of it kind of a miss there. But when they're planning on spinning out an asset like that, which is going to give them a chance to pull in some more cash and like they said, create more value for shareholders. Looks like traders getting a little bit excited about that.
Yeah, they were actually here in the stock, initially. Do you have the chart on there where it initially spiked down to? Because
Yeah,
I think
it's
it got down.
the
How much did it get down?
low was, let's see, it's just $50 flat, like 50 on the
Yeah.
nose.
They murdered this thing right on the initial report. They got down to $50. That's a huge overshoot on stock like Dart. And this is a lower beta stock. That seems absolutely crazy. But it did spike back up, and I'll tell you, I've traded a lot of stock at 53. So it looks to me like somebody's sitting there with an iceberg order or something at 53, trying to dump stock like crazy because it's traded. I'm just looking at the tape here. I'm looking at 9,300, and I'm looking just at the size that went off at $53. There was a lot of shares that went off at 53. So somebody there making a statement there, trying to dump some stock at 53, settled at 52.92. If you look at the high from 2 days ago, the high was 53 as well. So somebody's got their 53 sell button on here. So I think that's going to be your initial resistance. Obviously, it takes out 53. It's a different story, but with the report being as bad as it is, the spinoff may help a little bit, but I'm not in love with this one, and obviously somebody's making a statement at 53.
Yeah, no kidding. Another one we had reporting this morning was Rite Aid Romeo Alpha Delta. For those of you following along on your own charts, EPS came in at 4 cents versus the 5 cent estimate. while revenues came in at 6.4 billion, which did beat expectations of 6.29 billion. Now the guidance wasn't so hot, guiding fiscal year EPS from 17 to 23 cents. The street was looking for 23 cents, and Rite Aid's prior guidance was 18 to 27 cents. They also gave us a revenue range of between 25.3 and 25.43 billion for the fiscal year. That's an insanely tight range for a fiscal year. Street was looking for 25.4 billion. So revenue is a little bit above street estimates, while EPS, was guided below. So, guidance not looking, amazing on that. Going to pull up the intraday chart, and you're going to see it kind of tick down here. We had a low. What was that low there? That low of 515 and is now back up to 551 is the last trade that I'm seeing. So got to keep an eye on this one. Probably going to get some analysts weighing in on it. What are you thinking of Rite Aid?
Rite Aid, the stock that everybody had for dead last year, back on December the 7th of 2012, about 1 year ago, this stock fell under a dollar, got down to 95.5 cents down there. And ever since then, the stock has been straight up. This is quietly one of your best performers of the year. The stock up over 500%. I mean, when you put it in perspective, obviously from years ago, it's not really that exciting here, but when you look at the year, the run that it's had a great run here. A lot of people sitting on some pretty good gains on this Rite Aid. I'm looking at this whole short-term trading here. I'm looking at this 546 level. We got down there twice on December the 5th of this year, 546, and then just a week ago, December the 10th, we got down to 546 right on the kisser. We are trading 548 right now, so I'm looking at this whole 546, 550 area. That needs to hold for the bulls to keep charge in this one, and it is trying to hold because I know it spiked down through there earlier, but they're trying to keep it and they're trying to get this thing to open above 550. So if they can hold this thing above 550 here, I guess the bulls still got a case. Below 550, there is not a lot below. We know we cascaded through it here in the pre-market. We got a low back on November 21st of 517. So I'd say there's 20, 30 cents below that 546 area. But if that can hold, maybe the bulls can keep charging this one.
Another thing I want to throw in on there is that the same store sales were up 2.3% for the third quarter. While they did announce that they're going to extend their partnership with GNC through 2019. So it wasn't necessarily the best report possible, but that there were some of a bright side there. So I guess there's something to take a look at. We do have, I guess, what was another report we had this morning? We did have ConAgra Foods, Charlie Alpha Golf. Might as well pull that one up real quick before we kind of take a look at some other stuff out there. But Charlie Alpha Golf, like I said, for you guys following along on your own charts, company reported EPS of 62 cents versus expected 56 cents. So a nice beat on the bottom line. Revenues coming in at 4.71 billion versus expected 4.61 billion. So strength there too. Really kind of bid up here. It hit a high. What is that high up there?
It's
It's
right
above.
there
Yeah.
right now, 33.50. I know we had some odd lots go off at
Yeah.
33.80. I'm not going to count those. We had 533.57. So, and then we had another 700 shares. This is 2,800 shares have only traded here. So this is still trying to find where it wants to open here. There's somebody lining up with 2,000 shares at 33.43. He's probably looking at the chart saying this thing has major resistance on the chart in the whole 33.5 area. So this guy's taking a shot that this stock might not continue to run. This kind of agri one's a tricky one, though. I can remember trading this one before, and you think, oh, it's a food stock. It's not going to move that much on you. And then it surprises you sometimes. And this thing has had $3, $4 moves before. So this was a pretty good report as well. 62 cents versus 56 cents and 4.71 billion versus 4.61 billion. So I'm looking at this ConAgra here thinking, yeah, I kind of agree with this guy. There is some resistance here in the 33.50s, but I don't know if I'm sitting out here and sticking my neck out on this one because this stock has blown through. I've just watched a stock have follow through before. So hard to say whether it's going to have that. It might initially pause in the 33.5 area, but if it starts to take that out, don't get married to a short here if you're trying to short off the bat. You probably got a little more resistance at 34 at the point, but this stock can surprise you sometimes.
Absolutely. Looking after the close real quick before we hop into some other movers, we do have Nike reporting after the close. So I want to
Yep.
give all the traders a heads up on that. I don't know, you want to do a quick dive in there just to kind of take a look at what we're looking at on the charts here. But they're expected to bring in EPS of 58 cents. 57 cents was the comparable quarter last year. They're expected to bring in 6.44 billion in revenue versus 5.96 billion in the comparable quarter last year. Nike's on a run here. If you look at the intraday charts, it's been moving up throughout Wednesday, and sitting at 78.44 is last trade that I'm seeing. So, uh, real close to that $80 level. On the daily, it's looking pretty strong too.
Yeah, it ran with everything yesterday, but if you
Yep.
look at the days, the 3, 4 days earlier this
Right.
week, so I guess you're looking at Friday's action, Monday's action, and Tuesday's
hmm
action. We put in a triple bottom there, 76.24, 76.28, and 76.39 on a $76 stock. Three lows within 14 cents of each other. It's as close to a triple bottom as you're gonna get. And then it took off with the market. I mean, everything took off obviously yesterday. Nike, no exception, just rallied hard after the Fed came out, and it rallied a buck and a half here. So I'm looking at 78.55, close strong near the highs. The high was 78.58. Obviously, above that, you're going to get this pre-earnings run possibly again here too. For today's trading, you definitely have resistance up there in the high 79s, 80 area. Nike will typically move $4 or $5 on its earnings report, so I'd love to come out and say, oh, 80 is huge. We got to wait till we hear, So if you're trading it today, 80 is huge. If you're trading us after hours, I don't think 80 means nearly as much. And obviously, I believe that is actually all-time highs. It would be for Nike too. Yeah, the all-time high for Nike. So just to give you that number is 80.26, which was on December the 9th. So starts to take that out after hours, and I'd get really cautious if I'm short it. If you're trading it intraday and ahead of the number, you definitely have resistance in the 79s.
Another one I wanted to kind of dive into this morning are some of the steel names, specifically AK Steel, who gave us
Yep.
some guidance this morning. Things looking good. A lot of a lot of analysts were kind of ragging on a lot of these steel companies earlier in the year, and I think they've really kind of come back and showed the street a thing or two. But rallying up this morning, look at that daily chart, real strong. But in the intraday, seeing some strength this morning. Company guides its fourth quarter EPS between 2 and 6 cents, but the street was looking for a 3 cent loss. Also guiding shipments of steel at 1.4 million tons, which was below, or not below, but above expectations. So we are seeing some strength, sitting at 680 right now. It looks like, so maybe it's going to test that $7 level, but it looks like it's been holding right around that 680. So traders seem to be liking that.
Some of these dogs are still barking, and this has been, a dog that has been barking for basically the last 6 months. We go back to September, this was a $3.32 stock, so this has quietly doubled here in 4 months. So yeah, it is moving up, guidance higher, so this is helping the stock here too, trading up to $6.80. You got to go out to the weeklies to try to find some resistance here. I can go to a high we had back on September 14, 2012, so about a year and 3 months ago at 673. If you go back farther than that, you got to think the $7 area is probably going to run into some sellers there because we haven't been up in that area for almost 2 years. So you're getting up to the year and a half, 2 year highs on AKS, and play those whole numbers, especially like I said, with obviously option expiration tomorrow. You could have some strike interest there at $7, which means that number can become like a magnet here as well. So 680 is where we're at here in the pre-market. This is actually driving up a couple other stocks in the sector too. You've got U.S. Steel. X symbol X is breaking out here a little bit this morning too.
Yeah, I saw
This
some
has had
strength
some
in them.
quiet consolidation, 27.48, 27.37, 27.39. So you've had 3, 4 days here. We put in tops right around 27 and a half. It's trying to get above that this morning. We're trading 27.60 here. So this chart here looks interesting on the U.S. Steel. Obviously, $28 becomes a big number for this one as well, with options expiration looming tomorrow.
I know we've got some data about to come. I know Brent's going to squawk it to the Benzinga
Okay.
professional feed, but he may break in here in a second. So feel free, Brent, to break in whenever you're ready to rock and roll. So just want to give you a heads up there, Dennis. But anything you want to hop into real quick
Yeah, I
before
just want to
this?
talk one other stock here, Alcoa, which obviously isn't a steel stock, but
Right.
it's an aluminum
Another
stock, and this
materials,
stock
yeah.
has been quietly marching here to double A here, actually taking off from the whole 930, 934 area. It's put in a nice little low there, and it's had 4 or 5 days here where we made higher highs. well, at least higher highs anyways. I guess the one day we didn't have a higher low, but it's been kind of marching up. It's making a march for 10 bucks. 10 bucks, absolutely enormous on this stock. We got up to Alcoa 997 back on the 4th of November, and now all of a sudden we're back in this area here again. 461,000 shares up there at 10 bucks. So that number is absolutely huge. I think you'll get a lot of guys leaning in the high 990s on this one, especially from a technical perspective and also from an order flow perspective.
Definitely one to watch there. I mean, any of those big material stocks are kind of like a macroeconomic indicator, so something to watch there. And I believe Brent may have some data for us here.
Sure do. We have initial jobs claims for the week ended December 14th. A little bit higher than expected. 379,000. Economists were looking for 336,000. Continuing claims coming in at 2.884 million. Economists were looking for 2.77 million, and the prior week readings were revised. Let's see, initial jobs claims were revised just slightly higher to 369,000, and continuing claims were revised slightly lower to 2.79 million.
I think muted reaction seems to be kind of an understatement here. I don't see really anything going on from that report, so I think the market's
We
just,
move on Fed announcements, and
yeah.
that's
Well,
it.
I'm wondering if everybody like saved up all their powder for yesterday,
Taking
opened
a breather
fire.
here today.
Oh, and then just went home today. It's like, all right, gonna take off for Christmas now.
Yeah, they
Made
all
my
made their
money,
money yesterday on the
or,
big rally, and now
or
they're
they
just
lost
taking
so
the day
much
off.
that they've got to clear it out.
Gentlemen, check out.
Chelsea in the chat is asking about ALIM here, which is Alamira Sciences. This stock here is doubling this morning. Closed at $2.55. It's up 101%. It is, I believe, I'm looking to go look at the leaderboard. I believe this is number one. Yeah, it is. It's the only stock that's doubling today. $5.14 right now trading. There is some news there. ALIM shares, obviously news, rises after hours as the company enters labeling discussions with the FDA on Jake, can you pronounce this thing?
Oh,
Illuvian? Is that how you say it?
throw me under the bus. Yeah.
Illuvian.
Hey, actually, Illuvian. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's not too bad.
No,
That's
that's
Yeah,
pretty
that one
easy.
was an easier
that's a
one. I was giving
manageable
you an
one.
easy one. I was being nice to you. So yeah, obviously we're trading up here significantly here. I mean, these stocks, they move on this kind of stuff. But if you want to trade technically, if you want to look at it here, you are right at resistance right now here. If we go back into, and I got to go to the weeklies, but going back into July, 517, 515, 516, the highs 3 weeks in a row in mid-July. So you're in that area right now. This is a quiet double here too. Above that, there's nothing to 569. So there is some initial resistance here. I guess if it starts getting above 5.25, then you got to look out. It could continue to run here, but might run into some trouble here. Only 72,000 shares have traded here, so interesting setup here in this whole 515, 516 area. But it's always hard to short a stock that's obviously got an FDA news coming out. And these little pharmaceutical companies can really pop, and it's hard to trade these technically when fundamental news is out there.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, check out the chart on KB Homes. KBH is the ticker.
Oh
They
my.
just reported Q4 results. They are not looking so hot. I got EPS of 31 cents on sales of 618.5 million. The street was looking for 45 cents on sales over 660 million. We got a huge miss from KB Homes.
That's really interesting because we had strength in housing numbers yesterday. We had strength
Yeah.
in Lennar. They kind of usually trade as a group, and so that strength probably kind of pumped up KB Homes yesterday. I was not expecting to see a poor number from them hit that $17 level. Looks like it's holding that right now, but wow, that's a move.
Yeah, we had some crazy action in KB Homes yesterday ahead of this. If we just look at the intraday chart from yesterday, it got down to 17 bucks, and on the Fed, it rallied all the way up to 18, almost on the kisser, 1801. Before kind of closing weeks, they had a lot of stocks yesterday that actually closed strong, but this stock closed almost 50 cents off of its intraday high from yesterday. So I'm not sure if people leaning a little bit of the right way on that one actually, but there was major resistance up there at 18. It got up there, kissed major resistance again. That's the one thing good when you get big macro news and you get big Fed stocks will, if there's no individual stock news, they will trade technically on that. So you can get some good levels. And KB Homes gave you a shot right up there at old resistance at $18. Now I don't know if I would want to take it short into a report. So, but it would have gave you 40 cents on the pullback there. But it is pulling back here this morning. We just kissed down to 1688. Now bid 1715, so it's not
It's
quite as bad
Yeah, it's getting a
as
little bit of a rally now. We'll see if it gets
yeah.
any real relief, but it did bounce off that $17 level, held it strong. 17.17 now, so getting a little bit of strength as it looks like some traders are deciding to bite on the low prints.
Yeah, I don't know if I like this one though. I'm just looking here at that report. The report's scary looking. So funny things can happen, and we saw stocks before rally on bad reports here, but that was a pretty bad one. So I don't know if I'm coming in here and saying, oh well, this is going to turn around and go positive here today. But either way, stock obviously not getting whacked as much as I thought it might off of a report like that. Also reporting this morning, Winnebago,
Oh,
WGO. This
nice.
is a stock that honestly, I still can't believe the stock can move as much as it does here. It got back in 2012 to like
What
$8,
was the symbol on
and
that one again? Winnipeg.
WGO,
Uh,
Winnebago. But with gas prices as high as they are and stuff, people, I don't know. You see a lot of Winnebagos out there anymore. You boys see them, when you're driving out there. Do you see those things?
Do you
I'm
remember our conversation with Joel about renting RVs? He was talking about wanting to rent a Winnebago to take to tailgating, and I told him, "Do you know what RV stands for?"
I remember this.
Do you
what
remember
does it
this?
stand
It
for? I don't
stands
think
for
I.
Yeah.
Ruins Vacations.
Yeah.
That's what RV
Ruins
stands for.
vacation.
I've got a couple buddies actually looking to buy one. They're kind of going back and forth on Facebook with these old, like literally the old Winnebagos, like Winnebago branded ones from like the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking to buy one, and they're like $5,000, and so there's like 8 of them looking to get in on it, literally for tailgating.
Oh, that's right. Remember I told you about my friend who's got the school bus
Yeah.
he repurposed? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't say I must see probably a fraction. Well, Dennis, you go up north too, so that's probably when you would see the most Winnebagos, but you probably see about a fraction as many as you did 5 years ago.
Yeah, like I remember even when I was a kid, I'm going back 25 years ago, and I saw quite a few of those things on the road. People, kicking around. You never see those things. You travel on the freeway. I never pass a Winnebago anymore.
And when you do see one, someone has like their gear with them, they're towing their like, Super Duty King Ranch Edition F-150 and all that.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like
they just got
become
money to burn.
exactly. It's become a very supreme sort of luxury.
Yeah, I mean those guys get what is it? Is it 2 gallons a mile or so? It's
Well, I mean, even if they were a diesel, you'd think they'd do a little bit better. But I don't know. You drive up and you can go camp somewhere for all summer long and have a place to live and be fully comfortable. So,
driving hotel room, I guess.
Yeah, so when you look at it from that perspective, it's shocking that this stock in the last year and a half has went from $8 to $32, but it has. So here you got a stock that's up three or four times almost,
Yeah.
in the last 300% basically in the last year and a half. So that's shocking in itself. But I mean, the company comes out, it beats again here. So I'm not sure the revenue number was like 222 million versus 228 million, but the earnings they beat on the bottom line. So they're finding a way. Technically speaking, the stock has all kinds of resistance up here at 32.40, 32.20. Now, we are on an earnings report. It's only traded 800 shares here this morning, so it's so light. Wait for the dust to settle. But if this thing gets up in the whole 32.40 area and starts to look like it's going to reverse again here, could be an interesting one. But this is going to be thin. This stock trades thin. It had a $1.50 point range yesterday, $1.30 on no earnings at all. So expect some volatility here in this puppy, and I wouldn't be surprised if this thing chops around a couple bucks in one direction or another. So just don't get caught too big in something like this, because you could have trouble sneaking out, especially if you're trading early when liquidity is probably going to be pretty low.
I want to check out Groupon really quick. Golf Romeo Papa November for those following along on your own charts. It's above $11. In fact, it's at 11.70 right now is the last trade that I'm seeing. A lot of strength. Not necessarily a whole lot of news this morning. We had that upgrade yesterday morning from Northland Securities initiating coverage on the company with an outperform and a $13 price target. It traded sideways after the close yesterday. It did get some strength from that Fed rally, but not a whole lot. Traded sideways for almost the entire after-hour session yesterday, and it's popping again today. Just kind of an interesting move. What do you make of this one?
Well, you want to talk about a stock that's had a great year here. This stock basically back in October or November was $2.60. So here's another stock that has just had a phenomenal year here. Everybody had it for dead. Nope, too soon. And this stock is back now, and it's coming back hard here right now. $11.70. So it had a huge day. The last 2 days, 3 days ago, we put in a triple bottom right down here at $10. And here we are. We're at 11.70 3 days later. So this has been a nice run for Groupon. I do think it's going to run and start to struggle up here in the high 12s just because it has, in the end of September, multiple times it topped out just above $12 here. So resistance is coming here, probably another 30, 40 cents before you get into that major resistance area. But it's been a good run here for Groupon.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of wanted to bring that one up. It's making highs again, 1172. So definitely a fantastic year for Groupon. Zooming out to that daily chart. I mean, it's really, even though on the daily you can't really see it, so you got to look at the weekly, and yeah, it's pretty incredible. Dropping below $5, now it's back over 11. Dennis,
I'm going to give you a couple of key numbers on some of your top S&P components here
sure, let's
because
do it.
there's some big numbers here. Like I said, we're coming into options expiration here tomorrow, so those big whole numbers they come into play too for both those reasons. Where we said before, the options guys jockeying their positions using the equities themselves. ExxonMobil, $100, absolutely enormous on this thing. It got up to 99.95 yesterday. This was one I got right. I was complaining about the Facebook, but I actually got short ExxonMobil right on 99.95. It's not very often. Usually I make the journal I'm buying the high, but I actually made the journal I was selling the high, so I did it on the right side here. Got short 99.95. I actually covered at the close 99.54. I covered on the close, so I took a quick 40-cent scalp on it. But if this thing gets up into the high 99s again, there's major resistance below 100 because there's like 100,000 shares selling up there at the point. Obviously above 100, things change, but we are down 4 points here right now. Obviously, that's going to put a little bit of pressure on all your S&P stocks, but for whatever reason, we start to pop up here again. We drift up. 99.80s, 99.90s, probably going to be pretty decent resistance for ExxonMobil, at least off the hop. Hewlett Packard, HPQ, had a big day yesterday. $28 has been absolutely enormous for this thing. There's a huge seller up there at the point again. So you get up in the 27.80s, 27.90s, probably going to run into some opportunistic sellers sitting up there leaning on the whole $28 area. General Electric, which went ex-dividend here today, ex-dividend for 22 cents. The adjusted close is 27.19.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at your close and it says 27.41, now you got to adjust it for the dividend. 27.19 is the adjusted close. If for whatever reason we go into rally mode, major resistance up there in the whole 27.5 area. We've been up there a couple of times. That is the high of the year. Big seller up there at the 27.5 level. And again, that's a big options number. So when you come into these prices, and even if you're looking at other stocks, keep that in mind. If you look at the open interest on some of your options, if they're trading near a big strike price and if there's significant open interest, those numbers become significant. So especially when you have options expiration tomorrow.
Absolutely. Are there any other the major components? I got one thing I want to go into. Just don't want to cut you off though.
Yep. No. I'll go ahead there, Jakey.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to knock out one more thing before we hopped into our interview here at around 8:45. J.C. Penney just had its price target cut over at Goldman Sachs to $9.50 from $11. It looks like. So just want to keep an eye on J.C. Penney. We are seeing a tick down. Last trade I'm seeing is at 8:14. So J.C. Penney, obviously another one of those stocks that trades all over the place. Kind of reaching for yesterday's lows, perhaps, or maybe even looking at that $8 level. Any thoughts on J.C. Penney for today's session?
Same thing. What happens with J.C. Penney all the time is it loves on the Fridays because the weeklies are even there. So every Friday, J.C. Penney loves to get close to a half number or a whole number and close on it. If you look historically, just what it likes to do. I don't know how much this is going to knock it down, but we're at 8:26 was the close, 8:14. You got 2 days away from Friday, which and you're not that far away from an $8 level. So would not surprise me if this thing sticks around the $8 level here for the next couple of days. Then look out on Monday because once those options all expire and people aren't jockeying their options positions anymore, then it can move. But would not surprise me if this thing migrates to the $8 area over the next day and a half or next 2 trading sessions as that options expiration approaches Friday.
Absolutely. So we're shooting for an interview at 8:45. I don't know if you have anything else you want to go into real quick. Otherwise, we can kind of take a
Yeah, I
break, get
think we
everything
could
set up.
we'll take a break here. We'll give we're going to have Eric Muathe, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, from the Educational Trader
Mm-hmm.
on MarketFi there. We're going to bring him on here in just a couple of minutes here. So we'll take a quick break here and we'll bring Eric in.
Okay, sounds good. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back, traders and investors. My name is Jake Lakira. This is Pre-Market Info. On the line is Dennis Dick, and we also have Eric Muathe from the Educational Trader. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, thanks for being here today, Eric. So we know you've got this product on MarketFi, the Educational Trader, but we're going to get into that in just a second. But give us your quick background here. Like, how'd you get involved in the markets? And, tell us your background.
You know, what's really interesting is the other day I was listening to your guest, Jeff Pierce, and, he gave a similar story to mine, and I was wondering what was going on in the late 90s. Obviously we had a bull market. But I came started trading about 1998, 99. When I look back, it's probably because the market was bullish. Having never traded before, the sentiment was, attracting investors. But began in '99. By about 2002, I had enough experience after the great, amazing bear market of the tech bubble. So I started my product, which is at Muathe.com, which is my newsletter. And I've been running that pretty much full time since 2002. And, my trading style tends to be 100% on the technicals. And, just here lately I've had to hop on the amazing platform on, MarketFi. Otherwise that's my brief history. But, I've really spent a lot of time, what fascinates me more than, is how and why stocks were moving in 99 and the big moves. So that's still, even today, I'm still captivated by what can move a stock. Like, Ali guys were talking about Rite Aid. I mean, the stock was left for dead and, had an amazing year this year. So what makes something, without looking at the fundamentals from a technical, more like a, chartist of, what moves the stock? And that's pretty much what I try and concentrate on, is trying to find those blockbuster names and what setups are common and things like that.
All right, cool. So what exactly do you trade then? Are you doing like stocks and options? Are you doing futures? Are you doing foreign exchange trading? Like, what exactly are you working with over there?
What's really interesting is I've only traded stocks, never traded an option or anything of that. I've been on the stock side for some reason. I know, I should probably venture into other parts of the market as the market is evolving, but I've always stayed with the stocks, and I just feel comfortable. For some reason, I tend to understand that more. Nothing against any other platform. I believe the market is broad enough for every type of personality type, and I just find stock kind of make my own trading personality, which is just, and that's just how it is. But so no options, no forex, none of that stuff, but purely stocks.
But that's a great point you're making there, Eric. I mean, find something. I tell this to new traders all the time too, is that you don't have to be good at trading everything. You just have to find something that fits your personality. Find something that you enjoy trading. I've always been a stock guy too. I do the options as well with the stocks because they're kind of tied together. But I don't trade the futures. I have tried to trade futures before. I have tried to trade foreign exchange before. I've always looked at those as saying, and I've never, really been able to find an edge there. With stocks, I can find an edge because sometimes they'll lag the overall market. You can do pairs, you can do correlations, you can do so many different things. With futures, especially if you're just trading the S&P futures, that's just the overall market there. And the other thing I always compare it to is when you're going and looking at like futures or foreign exchange and you're trying to trade those vehicles, you're trading against some of the best traders in the world. You're sitting at poker with, Jackie Chan. You're sitting down at the table with the best players here, and it's hard to beat those players. But when you're on individual stocks, and especially, you can even sometimes look to the mid caps or small caps, there's not as much action there. So a lot of times you're trading against maybe players that aren't as informed as they are in the futures markets, and that's where I find I can find an edge there. So do you kind of feel the same way maybe with stocks? You can get maybe a little bit of a better edge?
I believe so. In fact, really, if you think about it, I think stocks can be boring, but in a way predictable. I mean, they don't have as much pull and tag as, let's say gold or, the crude oil futures. It's just so much volatility, and you think you see something on the charts and they just slap you across the face. But with stocks, they tend to be slightly less volatile generally, like especially when you go to mid cap and you can get a trend established for a long time, but when I look at, for example, the market yesterday, if you are playing a 1 or the other, I mean, yesterday's move was profound, just of course it was a Fed, but when you think about it, is stocks generally don't have that, don't trend high or trend low or break support. Yes, they do reflect. I mean, every market eventually just looks the same on the charts, but I find that stocks, to me, I can kind of figure out what they're trying to do as opposed to trying to figure out what, the complicated markets in the futures are trying to do, because it's a lot of factors, some which you might not be able to see outright. Because, like you said, it's you're trading the world and you don't know what's moving what and when,
Absolutely. So what are some like the time frames for your trading? Are you doing like day trading? Are you doing swing trading? What are you looking at there?
I would say swing trading, the profile, because most of my chart reading will be predominantly on the weeklies and the monthlies. So looking to hold something couple weeks, couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be swing trading, and nothing, no day trading, and not because it can't be done. It's just, again, after you've done it for a while, you figure out some things are for you, and and some things are not. So over the course of the last, how many, 12 or 14 years trading, I've been tried, different time frames. Just, I guess, for my personality, I would rather see something play out over a couple of days, weeks, and months, as opposed to trying to figure out if it's going to close, in the red and things like that. So my time frame is, and I bet most people are like that, it's more like a swing trader, and that's what, that's to me the sweet spot.
I think you're right. I think that is the sweet spot. And especially like when I came to the markets 14 years ago, and I've been a prop trader here for 14 years with Bright. And we've, it's a day trading firm. So we've been in there. And I think I'm still a day trader where I'm short-term guy, but I'm not a scalper anymore. If you're like really short-term guy and you're trying to pick up nickels and dimes and stuff, you're competing now again against the best players in the world, those high frequency traders that are very informed, have more information than you will, because the top 3 or 4 firms just basically have the books, have the order flow, they have everything on you. So it's so hard to compete in that space. So I think by lengthening your time frame and going into the, maybe in the couple days, couple weeks, it's not as competitive in that time frame. So you can get better setups. But my one question for you is, and this is something that I've struggled with as trying to evolve from that scalper short-term trader into a swing trader. How do you control your risk? So, like, do you set like stops and profit targets, or like, tell us about a typical trade, maybe even one that you did recently, and how you control the risk and how you figure out when you're getting out.
I think that's something I have to say, even after doing it all this time, is you always get caught saying, I'm going to give it an extra 1% before I sell it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but in the back of your head that there's a percentage that is now you're really pushing. Like if you look at the math, anything past 8% starts being very hard to get back in time. I think when the markets are, or when a stock is down 8%, it needs to rally back 11%. When it's down, 25%, it needs to rally back for you to be even. I think it's 50%.
Yeah.
And the number just keep getting. So you're basically burying yourself. But I would use stops, a combination of stops and chart setup. If I say maybe you want to sell if the stock breaches some predetermined price, let's say you have a support line or an area in the chart where you think if it goes below that, it's telling it could go lower. So a combination of price, stops, and also chart. So I use a combination of those, and I have to say I wish I could get better at that, as time goes by, because really we can control the downside. Then the upside is really what you're getting yourself more into and increasing your odds for success. So combination of just understanding that once you let stocks go past that 5-8%, you're really digging yourself, because it's going to take a big move to bring yourself back in the black. So charts, and also using the outright percentage loss cutoff point.
Okay, I got you. So are you following like all of the stocks out there? Do you focus on a certain like basket of stocks? Are you trading certain sectors? I guess what are you focused on when it comes to like what stocks you're looking at?
Okay, when it comes down to it, is the way I look at it is, and we all can agree on this, is once you can figure out a trend, which is not easy, of course, but if you can, for example, if you came into 2013 knowing or thinking that gold could be on a downtrend, I mean, we're trading almost 1,200 now. Is despite all the volatility, you'd still be on the right, on hindsight, you'd still be trading gold correctly. Now, gold has been probably one of my best trades this year just because the trend to me seemed like it was breaking. So the idea here is, so what I'm thinking is whenever you're going to find a market is try and figure out what is the big picture, So I personally look at everything. I look at world markets. In fact, I make it a point of making sure I understand the general trend in the world. I look at all the European markets, Asian markets, the big ones, look at Brazil, just to get an idea. I know I'm not going to get it right all the time, but I want to get a general feel. Is this market turning around? Is it, are we breaking out? If markets are breaking out worldwide, you got to be careful because you can't be short in that kind of an environment, which has been 2013 pretty much. So yes, a big picture, and then I come down to U.S. What's the U.S. market doing? And then from there, I spend a lot of time trying to figure out what are the best sectors. Because, like you all know, if you can find the best sector, if you want to go long, that's good for you. If you can find the worst sector when you want to go short, then you really increase your odds for good gain. So I'm more of a, I would say for my trading style, I want to understand where trends are moving as a general idea because it's very hard to figure out, for me at least, what it's going to do day to day. But I would like to have an idea, is it going to be up in the next 4 weeks, 2 months down the road? Is it looking like it wants to move higher? Then trade according to that big picture as opposed to just trading shorter time frames.
Eric, are you incorporating any fundamentals into that analysis too, or are you doing it pure technically?
It's pure technical. I mean, pure. And the only reason is because I don't think I'm smart enough to understand the fundamentals.
Right.
Because honestly, is a stock can announce one or two things, and the market will do 100 things. So I don't get. I'm not smart enough to figure out how the fundamentals play. I find that to be very confusing.
I think I agree with you somewhat on that. Like, I mean, we can look, we've seen some funny earnings reports here in the last few weeks where you'll see a company come out and they're, miss earnings and it doesn't look good at all. And all of a sudden the company is rallying here. Like even like a KB Homes this morning, it looked like a terrible report, but the stock actually, it's trading down now. It's down 50 cents, but it's trying to hold on. You can see some funny things happen. So I think I try to always be cognizant of the fundamentals, but what I try to do in my trading is if I'm trading something technically, I try to almost avoid the fundamentals. So I'll try to trade something, when it doesn't have an earnings report coming up in the next few days. Do you try to avoid those fundamental announcements too?
If the only thing I might be avoiding is probably the earnings because those can really, mess up. They can change the charts to where you can't have a reason to be holding the position because earnings just came and the stock gapped up or gapped down huge and never looked back. So you wanna avoid earnings for the most part. But do I really put too much emphasis on that? No. Just because if you think about it, since we are using charts, we assume that the market should know, at least have an idea what's going on. So you want to believe that the technical outlook is correct, even though the charts can change after a big fundamental event takes place. So yes. I do, always have to consider some of the fundamental news, but not too much weight. Most of the weight will go to the charts. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for you to rely on charts as the only source of cues whether to go long or short a stock.
Okay, I got you. So you've got a product on MarketFi, and I'm just wondering, like, what are you covering there? Are you just kind of going over your trading strategy? Are you kind of giving people trading ideas? What exactly are you doing on that product then?
The educational trader on MarketFi is people can join me on my trades, all my buy sells, and as you know, MarketFi will verify each trade. So it is me trading my best ideas, and subscribers do follow along in terms of what I'm trading, and I make an effort of trying to explain why I'm going long or short a name, so that everybody, as my hope is that we can make money and try and learn from each other by sharing ideas. So pretty much it is market analysis, stock analysis, playing breakouts here or stocks breaking down on the short side, and for the most part, I like subscribers to come in and ask questions, but it is pretty much a trading service in the sense that you'll get my live buy, sell alert, so you can trade alongside me, or at least understand what trades I'm putting on and why. So you can probably trade along or maybe adjust your portfolio, at least know what's going on. And pretty much that's what I do on the MarketFi educational trader platform.
What stock are you eyeing up right now? Do you have a trade that you're in, or do you have a trade that you're eyeing up and looking to get in here right now? Give us a tip here today, Eric.
Well, the thing about it is, outside of yesterday's move, I was really thinking, and I still believe that, to me, the real estate sector seems to be rolling over. That's the one place I'm watching for that confirmation of a break, because if you take a look at the monthly for the IYR and draw a straight line, just connecting the closing prices on the monthly going back to 09, we broke that trend line on the monthly a couple months. I think this month we are breaking it. So yesterday looked like they were really confirming that push. So my best idea, to be honest with you, is short the real estate sector if they break that trend now. On the other hand, I noticed with yesterday's move, some of the charts on the dailies are changing, and it just remains to be confirmed whether they're going to move higher. But that would be my best bet. I believe 2014 might not be as kind for the real estate sector now. Of course, I don't know, because the charts could change for us. But given the charts today, I would say that's my best idea on the short side. The real estate names to me seem like they're rolling over for some reason.
Do you have anything on the long side that you're eyeing up here? We're at like 8 points off all-time highs. Are you just placing like bearish bets here, or do you think you have some sector or a specific stock that you're looking at from a long side perspective?
Honestly, if I was to place a trade on the hoping for end of year rally, I would go long solar names, because I noticed they're starting to, after they had pulled back for a couple of weeks, they're starting to bounce this week. I'm not very convinced that they're really going to hold, but I would say right now, unfortunately, if you consider yesterday's move, most of my positions, if not all, are short, and by way of ETFs. So that would be, my position. Just waiting to see whether the market can take out the highs, and maybe that idea is going to be for not. But for now, position predominantly on the short side.
What about Twitter or Facebook? Do you ever trade those things? We always like to ask our guests.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't trade them, but I watch them because I know subscribers do, and they ask. I was looking at Facebook, and Facebook, when it moved above 50.23, which is the previous monthly closing high, that was a buy. But I noticed, yesterday it closed positive, but I noticed it was struggling to hold the previous weekly and daily closing high of 54.22. So I think Facebook holding above that weekly buy point or threshold of 54.22, which is also the daily high, then it could have a chance to move high. But if it moves back below those levels, I believe that it could be short at this particular point. As for Twitter, I thought once it moved above 44, which was the initial or the week one closing high, above 44, I thought it was going to take off, and it did. But what surprised me was the move. The move was huge.
Unbelievable.
So that was absolutely. No stops, just straight. Talk about confusing everybody. And I guess this is why we still trade these markets, because you never know, and you never, your experience is not going to mean that you're going to understand what's going on. You just might appreciate or might be more relaxed when you see things going on. But Twitter was a good surprise. I believe if I was to go along Twitter today or around this time, I would wait for it to break out again above 59, which is right now the most recent daily closing high. And that would be, how I would approach that. Otherwise, I'm not sure whether they hold above those levels on the daily, watching them. We'll see where we close today and for the rest of the week. But if they can't hold those daily, like if Facebook can't hold above 54.22, I believe it's stalling, and probably the next move could be low. That would be my bet.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning, Eric. This has been awesome. We'll definitely have to have you on again. Love getting your outlook here on some stocks and hearing about how you dive into various trading ideas. We're gonna take a very short break here, real quick, and and when we come back, we will have Muddy Joe Young giving us the morning headlines. We'll be right back. Welcome back, traders and investors. That was an interview with Eric Muathe of the Educational Trader. I thought it was pretty cool. Joe, Brent, what did you
I
guys think?
mean, it was also educational, was it
Oh,
not?
indeed, it was.
I
Joe,
think that's the important part.
yeah, indeed.
And I did throw a link to Eric's product that's on MarkFi into the chat, so
Very nice.
Oh, cool.
everyone go click and have fun, browse around.
All right, Joe. Well, you guys ready to do the morning headlines
I
here?
have a couple headlines here as soon as
Awesome, man.
Drew leaves me alone and stops trying to talk to me while I'm on the air. But yeah, going around the world today, in case you haven't heard, Target Corporation said that data from about 40 million credit and debit card accounts might have been stolen during the Thanksgiving weekend in one of the largest credit card breaches at a U.S. retailer. The Krebs on Security closely watched security industry blog that broke the news. Target said the accounts, which may have been compromised between November 27th and December 15th, affected customers making credit and debit card purchases at Target's U.S. stores. The Secret Service is investigating, according to a spokesman for the agency, which safeguards the nation's payment systems. Target officials did not respond to requests for comment. Investigators believe the data was obtained via software installed on the machines that customers use to swipe magnetic strips on their cards when paying for merchandise at Target stores, according to a person who was not authorized to discuss the matter and declined to provide further details. Krebs on Security said the breach involved nearly all of Target's 1,797 stores in the United States, citing sources at two credit card issuers. The report said that tracked data from at least 1 million payment cards was thought to have been stolen before Target uncovered the operation, but that number could be significantly higher. I guess that makes the case for carrying cash around, probably, but nobody's here to agree with me. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg will sell about $2.3 billion worth of shares in his company, slightly reducing his stake and voting power at the social network. Facebook said on Thursday today, Zuckerberg will sell 41.4 million shares as part of the firm's stock offering of 70 million Class A common shares, reducing his voting power by 3%, according to a public filing by the company. The filing says Zuckerberg will use most of the windfall to pay taxes connected to his exercising an option to buy 60 million Class B common stock, the majority of which is being converted to Class A stock and sold in this offering. Venture capitalist and board member Mark Andreessen will also sell some 1.6 million shares worth about 89 million, and Facebook will sell another 27 million shares. LaserShip, OnTrack, and Eastern Connection Operating are small regional shippers that may well have dropped a package off on your doorstep this holiday season, according to the Wall Street Journal. These and other shippers, which handle packages for companies ranging from Amazon to Avon Products to Walgreens, are expanding their networks across the U.S., creating a super-regional threat to the duopoly of UPS and FedEx, which are under pressure to build their own ground delivery businesses in the face of weak demand for express air delivery. By cobbling together networks, the regional shippers are grabbing market share from UPS, FedEx, and the U.S. Postal Service as e-retailers look for cheaper, faster delivery options for their online shoppers. Toyota erased a black mark on its reputation for quality today when Consumer Reports restored a recommended rating for the flagship Camry sedan less than 2 months after the influential magazine had pulled the rating due to bore crash test results a year ago. The 2014 Camry was retested this month by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, and its rating raised from poor to acceptable in a year-old IIHS test procedure. The group said the Camry was rated a top safety pick after Toyota made changes to the structure of the front end for 2014 models built after November 1st, according to IIHS spokeswoman Kristen Nevels. The Norwegian cancer drug maker, is it Algeta or Algeta?
I'm
Anyone?
unsure.
Well, said Thursday that it had agreed to be acquired by the German drug giant Bayer in a deal valued at about $2.9 billion. The pharmaceutical company said on Thursday that Bayer, through a subsidiary, intends to launch a cash tender offer to acquire the outstanding stock of the company for 362 Norwegian kroner, or about $59.13 a share. The offer is a 37% premium on Algeta's closing price on November 25th, the day before the preliminary offer was announced. Detroit Free Press reports that the city of Detroit is on the verge of settling a long-standing debt it says is owed by the Ilitch family's business empire, so the Red Wings owner can move forward with a plan to build a new sports and entertainment complex near its downtown area. City officials say the Ilitches could owe the bankrupt city up to $80 million in payments tied to cable TV revenues, which were included in a 1980 amendment to the Red Wings' original lease of Joe Louis Arena before the Ilitches bought the team in 1982. It is unknown whether the Ilitches have paid the city anything related to such revenues, according to city records, nor is it clear how much of an effort the city has made over the past 30 years to assess and collect money owed. But now the city is expected to offer a settlement of about $6 million to resolve the cable TV issue and a variety of other unpaid bills at the Joe. Olympia Entertainment, an Ilitch company, has maintained through the years that the city is not entitled to any cable TV money. The company informed the city in 2007 that Olympia has neither sold any rights nor has it received any money for the sale of such rights. The company's position has made it difficult for the city to calculate how much it believes the company owes. Enough is enough. Stop wasting money on vitamin and mineral supplements, say medical experts in an editorial of a leading journal that has just published 3 new studies examining whether routine use of vitamin and mineral supplements brings health benefits. Writing in the Annals of Internal Medicine, the editorial authors conclude that most supplements do not prevent chronic disease or death. We went over this the other day. Vitamins do not prevent death. Everyone should know that.
All right.
Yep. Some may even be harmful in well-nourished adults, and there is a large body of evidence to support this. Their routine use is not justified, and they should be avoided, they urge, noting that this message is especially true for the general population, with no clear evidence of micronutrient deficiencies who represent most supplement users in the United States and other countries. I read a report saying that their sampling selection for studying these people taking mineral supplements and vitamin supplements over a certain period of time was made up entirely of physicians who are already presumably well nourished, and therefore taking vitamins and supplements would be of no benefit to them. So, Becky Quick was saying, they were laughing on CNBC the other day about the warning that vitamin and mineral supplements do not prevent death. Nothing prevents death, okay? So, taking a pill won't make a difference.
Yeah, right.
Unless you're bicentennial, man. Then you have a positronic brain, synthetic organs, you can live forever.
Okay. Well, I'm putting that down to my notes.
Yeah, that's right.
Become bicentennial man.
Just,
all right, we're good.
Just ask Robin Williams how he did it.
I'll shoot him a text.
Okay. Phil Robertson of A&E's Duck Dynasty has been suspended indefinitely after some offensive remarks. In an interview in the January issue of GQ, the 67-year-old Robertson says that homosexuality is a sin and puts it in the same category as bestiality and promiscuity. Duck Dynasty follows a millionaire Louisiana Bayou family that has made a fortune on duck calls. More disheartening, about 6 to 7 million people watch the show every week. Its 4th season premiere in August drew nearly 12 million viewers to become the #1 nonfiction series telecast in cable history. Shubs and I were talking about this today. Why would GQ be asking him about that kind of stuff? There was even a tweet that says the guy lives in a shack in Louisiana and sells duck calls. What did you expect?
I know, right? I'm just wondering if maybe it was one of those conversational things that came up, and then GQ was like, "Ooh, we can get a bunch of traffic
Right,
on this one."
excuse me, Phil Robertson. What are your thoughts on homosexuality? Like anybody really cares.
Phil Robertson, what are your thoughts on the Fed? Quantitative easing, yes or no?
Yeah, exactly. Moving on. Beyonce's surprise new album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. The self-titled album sold 617,000 copies entirely off iTunes, making her the first woman in history to reach #1 with her first 5 studio albums. Beyonce also broke iTunes' US record for the most sales in 1 week and accomplished it only 3 days after releasing the album at midnight on December 13th. The physical album is set to hit stores between December 18th and December 20th, according to Billboard. The 5 consecutive #1 albums puts her in some eclectic company, as DMX, Kanye West, Madonna, U2, Wings, Linkin Park, and Elton John have also done the same. Point of reference, Elton John, first musician in history, as far as I know, to have an album debut at #1.
Wow.
He did it twice after that. It was in 1975, Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. On this day, oh, and also, I saw a tweet the other day about Beyonce's album, the list of countries that it was released in overnight. Someone comments and saying, like, some of these countries don't even have running water, but they have Beyonce's album available on iTunes.
Oh, man, that's rough.
On this day in 1917, 4 teams of the National Hockey League play in the fledgling league's first 2 games. At the time of its inception, the NHL was made up of 5 franchises: the Canadiens and the Wanderers, both of Montreal, the Ottawa Senators, and the Quebec Bulldogs. Probably the most boring piece of trivia I've ever read on the show. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that this show would not be possible without our dear friends at OptionsHouse, who will offer you 150 commission-free trades just for signing up with an account through this page. There's buttons at the top, to the right, and all the way down to the bottom. Go there, sign up with an account on OptionsHouse, get 150 commission-free trades just because you listen to Benzinga's pre-market info. And with that, I'm going to pass it over here to my man Brent with this morning's analyst ratings.
Thanks, Joe. That was nice. That was pretty bad, interesting tidbit, though, but you can't win them all, buddy. I'm not too concerned about it.
Push-ups, he tries so hard, and all I do is berate him on the air. Everyone must think he's just a complete loser, but
No,
he's really not. He's a cool
great
guy. He's a great guy.
So, guess what, Jake? We just had some Carnival earnings. This is Jake's favorite stock by far. By far. I am not even joking. He loves to talk about Carnival.
That's why it wasn't trading down this morning. Traders were waiting for the earnings. I didn't even realize they were reporting today.
So the company just reported Q4 adjusted EPS 4 cents. They beat the street, Jake.
Wow.
The street was looking for break even their sales. They also beat. Can you believe that? 3.66 billion. Analysts were looking for 3.53 billion. So we do have shares of Carnival trading up to 38.15 at last check. It did initially spike lower following this report. It touched a morning low at 36. Now we're up about $2 from that level.
Now, did they have any guidance for how many ships are going to sink in the coming quarter, though?
Very funny, Jake.
Or how many are going to break down or float down rivers or crash into probably a building or something?
They did have some normal guidance. They're expecting a Q1 loss in the range of 7 to 11 cents, and the street was at 7 cents, so that was not really that great. And then the fiscal year was a little better, 140 to 180, the EPS range there, and the street's around 157. So strong quarterly report and some okay guidance. The stock's moving higher. Believe it. Believe it.
Yeah, 38.20s last trade. I'm seeing it. It really made it up there.
Yeah.
Backing off into the daily chart, that looks pretty darn good. If you go back to like a weekly to see it, not being up there. Wow, looking at the weekly, it's been up as high as 47.50 back in 11. Wow. All right. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's cool. Dennis is breaking into the chat, Joe. He's saying that the Canadians found the NHL trivia piece to be very interesting. I'm sure.
Well,
Dennis, you would say that, but I think you're biased.
All right, so let me run you guys through some of the top upgrades, downgrades, and don't forget about the new coverage. New coverage, initiating coverage can also be important. Don't want to discriminate against new coverage. Some of the top upgrades: Evercore upgrading shares of Delta Air to overweight this morning. Also getting an upgrade on shares of Sirius XM Radio from Wunderlich. Wunderlich raising their investment rating from hold to buy. However, cutting their price target from 450 to 420. Piper Jaffray upgrading shares of 4 slabs, that is Foxtrot Romeo X-Ray, from neutral to overweight, boosting that price target to $67. Smith and Nephews at Sandy Sandy November upgraded to buy at Bank of America. One more on the upgrade side of things, Callaway Golf, good old ELY being upgraded from market perform to strong buy at Raymond James. That is a couple notch upgrade there, rather notable one. Raymond James announcing a 950 target on shares of Callaway. A couple of the top downgrades this morning, Craig Hallam downgrading shares of Ford from buy to hold. Leerink Swan, which is more of a pharma focus research firm, downgrading shares of Solta Medical, Sandy Lima, Tango Mike to market perform. Bernstein downgrading shares of Shire, Sandy Hotel, Papa Golf to market perform. Macquarie downgrading shares of Comerica to underperform, slapping that sell equivalent rating on shares of CMA. And then Morgan Stanley downgrading shares of AbbVie, Alpha Bravo Victor to equal weight. Couple of the new coverages this morning, Benchmark initiating coverage on shares of GameStop with a hold rating and 38.55 price target.
An initiation and a hold. Great. We're here.
They're here. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Mind you, the GameStop shares are trading at almost $50 right now.
Yeah, right below that $50 level. Last trade I'm seeing is at $49.93.
So what's the downside on that? Let me do some quick math here. We got 50 minus 38.55. That is about 22% downside that Benchmark sees in shares of GameStop, but they're not quite ready to let you start selling this thing. They want you to stay on the sidelines.
They want to wait for a 25% downside?
Maybe 25 is their threshold. I mean, in all seriousness, this is a lot of times how these sell-side firms will come to their investment ratings. Aside from any fundamental factors, they'll get to their price target, and then it could be a range like 10% or lower is a hold, above 10% is a buy, that kind of thing. Continuing, Comcast shares initiated with a buy and $60 price target at Buckingham Research. Disney shares getting a new buy rating and $86 price target at a firm called Ascendiant Capital. Ascendiant initiating coverage on a number of other media names there. We did have 2 new coverages on shares of Ralph Lauren this morning, ticker Romeo Lima. Janney Capital initiating coverage with a buy rating and $200 price target. And then Stevens, an analyst at Stevens, initiating coverage of Ralph Lauren with an equal weight rating and $184 price target. JP Morgan this morning, actually it might have been last night, don't quote me on this morning, JP Morgan initiating coverage on shares of BlackBerry, with a neutral rating. JP Morgan previously had suspended coverage on shares of BlackBerry. This call, I haven't dug into this JP Morgan note quite yet, but this call is pretty interesting because we will be getting BlackBerry earnings tomorrow. So JP Morgan not exactly sticking their neck out with the neutral rating, but getting in front of the earnings at least.
Well, yeah, you did indicate that they had coverage on BlackBerry before, but they had a not rated rating
Right.
on it. Now they've just, I don't know.
They
it's
just
not a
resumed.
reinstatement. It's
No.
not an upgrade.
Not
They
really.
were covering it the whole time.
Well, I
but
think it's one of those things where maybe they're reinstating it because they know there's earnings tomorrow, and so that they can release a report, say on Monday or even after the close
That's
tomorrow.
probably a good call.
So they can weigh in on it. It's probably something kind of like that.
Probably a good call. We got a question from Boca Joka. Did I say that right? You think?
Choka.
I think I said that right. Looking at NEM, that's Newmont Mining. Dennis kind of piping in there with a little level. Let's take a look at it, Jake. Pull up the chart
Yeah, waiting for it to pull up, but
if you don't mind.
Just waiting for it to load. Yep, there we go.
I mean, a lot of these gold names, they trade really closely with gold as a whole, and I like to use the GDX for a lot of these gold miners. That's the gold mining ETF, Market Vectors Gold Miner ETF, Gulf Delta X-Ray. Did your chart on Newmont come up there,
Yep,
Jake?
it's up and ready, rock and roll. Last trade I'm seeing is at 22.72.
I see a low this morning at 22.65. Looking at the chart from yesterday, looks like 23.40-ish. There was a bit of consolidation yesterday. Then right as that Fed rate decision came out. It was swinging around with gold. Ended up moving a little bit higher. 23.65 was the intraday high yesterday, and then kind of sold off into the close. Don't like to see that. Let me take my chart back, see if I can recognize any areas of support or resistance here. We are below that $23 level. It looks like the price did want to hold above 23 over the course of this last week. We're breaking below that today. So let me zoom out one more time and see if we got any support down at this level. It looks like on Thursday of last week we touched right around this level. We need to hold probably 2260. I think we need to hold above 2260, or else you might see a little bit of air below that level. So watch out if we're gonna be moving below that price today. A deal this morning that we didn't get to touch on, and I don't think we touched on it because it's not exactly moving the stocks here. Let me just check my... Yeah, I don't really see any action in it today. We did have a deal earlier for Essex property, that is Echo Sandy Sandy, to buy BRE Properties, that's ticker Bravo Romeo Echo, and a deal valued at about $4.3 billion. The terms here are BRE will convert into 0.2971 shares of Essex and $12.30 per share in cash. On a per share basis, that deal is valued at about $56.20, and BRE property shares are right at $55.91, so about an inline deal. I guess that's probably why we're not seeing a ton of action in either of those shares this morning. There is a bit of volume coming into both of those now. I looked a little bit earlier, right after that news hit, and there was like no shares traded for so long. But we're getting a little bit of action in that name this morning. One other item that I wanted to cover was some machine sales data from Caterpillar. Caterpillar issues these monthly machine sales figures, always in an 8K, so you don't ever see an official release. Tends to slide by some traders sometimes, but Caterpillar announcing November 3-month rolling global machine sales down 12%. North American sales were down 2%. We got shares of Cat trading down about 1% this morning. That's about 3/4. Did you pull up the chart on Cat, Jake?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sweet. Let's see.
Last trade I'm seeing is at
see what we can see.
87.50 this morning.
87.50 looks good, and you know what? It looks like $87. It looks like there was a bit of a technical level at $87. Looks like I'm seeing some resistance a couple times over the last, let's see, last few months here. I've seen the stock kind of bump up against that $87 level. Once it charged through it and then kind of sold off after breaking 88. Once it really couldn't make it through that 87 level, I think this is going to be a good sign here that we're over $87. If we see some continuation this morning and into today's trading session, I would expect this one to close over 87. If it can hold that 87 level, you could see some follow through for the remainder of this week, maybe into next week.
And there we go.
Was that a little bell sound I heard?
That would be the market open. Gonna pull up the S&P futures here real quick and get you guys an update. Seeing 1799 is where we're at. We've broken below that $1,800 level. So S&P futures down 0.32%. Dow futures down 0.23%. Dow futures are still holding above that 16,000 level at 16,072. And we have NASDAQ futures down 0.36% at 3,496. We also have gold moving to the downside this morning. Going to pull that one up real quick. We do have it sitting at, let's see, what is that? 1202.60 is what I'm seeing there, down 2.62%. We have crude oil down as well below that $98 level once again that we've been watching, down 0.07% to 97.90.
Oh, I don't see it. Actually, it's spiking. Do you see a spike going on right now?
On crude?
Yeah.
Let me get a better, closer trade. There we go. Yeah, there it is. 98.64. What was that?
It bounced at 97.85. Bounced
so
very sharply.
Looks like we had a break below that $98 level. some bulls bit on that. Now we're at
Wow.
98.59, 98.61 is what I'm saying. It's really
So
spiking right
so
now.
we are in the positive territory.
Absolutely,
When we
and
look around for
we are
any
rallying
potential
on this
news.
one. Yeah, might want to take a look at that. This could just be something on the tape though, something to kind of take a look at. But gotta kind of watch that. As far as equities go, I do want to roll over to Ford. We did have that downgrade this morning, and so I just want to see where we're at. It is at 1536 right now, so heading towards kind of the lows of what we saw yesterday. What was our low yesterday was 1517, I think. Yeah, 1517 was our low yesterday. 1535 is the last trade that I'm seeing. So a little bit of continued weakness in Ford right now. Pretty big drop yesterday, about 7%. So kind of not exactly the most common move there for Ford. Want to move over to some of the other names that we were looking at earlier in the show to kind of get an update on them. One of them being Groupon. Golf Romeo Papa November is this name. It's continuing to rise this morning, sitting around 1150. We saw some of those moves this morning. Let's see if I can grab an intraday chart here. There we go. We had a high this morning. It was at almost 1170 there. 1172 was our allotted high today. We are at 1151 right now. So Groupon continuing to show some strength this morning after receiving an initiation and outperform yesterday morning. Looks like it's kind of getting a little bit of follow through on that one. Going to move over to AK Steel. It's Alpha Kappa Sandy. They did have some good guidance this morning, as well as raising their shipment expectations. Shares spiked on that one, raising from the low $6 range all the way up near to $6.80, where it's been trading around all morning. In the last, about 10, 15 minutes, we've had a little bit of a breakdown on AKS. We've seen it at 667, 666 now, so kind of pulling back a little bit, so kind of dropping down here. Brent, any thoughts on any of these steel names? I don't know if you're getting bombed with news here, if you can hop in or not.
Yeah, I can hop in. I
Sure.
don't know. Let's take a look at some of the other names.
Just
I was
like AK Steel, we got I know US Steel, which is ticker X-Ray, is also out there, and we're seeing a little bit of strength in some of these materials. I know Dennis also wanted to pull up Alcoa, Alpha there. Just some strength in some of these materials names. I don't know if you have any thoughts here or not.
on the steel names.
Yeah, just in general, when we had this some strong guidance this morning. We've had some decent run in the last couple of months. Got U.S. Steel moving up a little bit this morning, along with AK Steel, and let's see if Alcoa is still moving. I believe pull ticker Alpha there. See how they're doing this morning in the open here. Looks like the chart got screwed up a little bit for a second there, but yeah, Alcoa looks like it might be testing that $10 level if we get a little bit more strength here. It's at 984 right now. If you get a little bit of a market rally, we could test that $10 level.
A couple of the other big dogs in that sector, Nucor, that's November, Uniform Echo, and also Steel Dynamics, STLD. Those aren't trading up quite as much as U.S. Steel is. U.S. Steel up about, what do we got, 65 cents here. U.S. Steel and AK Steel trade really close together, whereas Nucor and Steel Dynamics a little bit further away. AK Steel getting up over, what was it, 650 level, important 650 level in AK Steel. And similarly, what do we got? US Steel did push over 2750 today. Couple of important levels. I was actually watching that 650 level in AK Steel for some time, and if you look at the chart, this morning's pre-market chart, you can see that obviously when that news came out, and I think it was last night, it gapped through 650 level and just sort of off to the races. Looking at the chart this morning though, 687 I see a high, and it doesn't look like the technicians on AK Steel this morning wanted to push the stock over 680. Tried to a little bit earlier, and it came back down at the open. 670 last trade here in AK Steel.
Another one I want to take a look at, we did take a look at some of those steel names. I know Chelsea was throwing into the chat. Merck, Mike Romeo Kilo, another major pharma company there. Got some strength last night after the close on some positive comments from Jim Cramer. We know he likes to hop into these bigger names, but we did get a rally, throughout yesterday's session, and then it held some strength throughout the aftermarket yesterday. Seen it at 48.82 right now. Trading around a little bit. Nothing too crazy right now, but do want to keep an eye on this because, after all, we've had a lot of strength since November 1st. I mean, you're seeing a low of 45 bucks, then making it all the way to 50 bucks, just marching higher when it reached $50 on, was that December 2nd, came back down, and we've been kind of breaking down until yesterday when we finally had a breakout back to the upside. So just kind of an interesting one to take a look at here. Yesterday, we want to watch yesterday's high here at the 48.93 is what the high was. If we can close above that, I would be kind of interested to see where this goes, because then the next high that we're looking at was 49.53, I believe. So just kind of interesting to take a look at that one on Merck.
I'm wondering how much Merck today is being traded on some of this news out of Bristol Myers and AstraZeneca. There was a report last night from the WSJ. Bristol Myers could be near a deal to sell its diabetes joint venture stake to AstraZeneca for around $3 billion. That was after 6 p.m. yesterday, last night. And then this morning, really early this morning, Bristol Myers, AstraZeneca announcing the confirmation of that deal, except the values for $4.3 billion. Bristol Myers did also issue a bit of guidance and announced a raised dividend from 35 to 36 cents. Merck and Bristol Myers pretty much exact competitors there, so sometimes you're going to see some action like this, and the peer is going to move up as a possible play toward maybe some more M&A coming from them, but in this case it looks like Merck investors are a little disappointed that maybe Bristol Myers got to that joint venture diabetes stake a little bit before, so it could be the reaction there. We have Bristol Myers shares trading up about 70 cents. That's a little bit more than 1%, and AstraZeneca shares trading up about 35 cents. That's a little bit more than 0.6%.
Definitely something to watch there. I'm going to go check in on Carnival real quick. They did report this morning. I want to see what they're doing. 38.30 is the last trade that I'm seeing. Moving over to the intraday chart here. A lot of strength there. Kind of holding on to that $38 level without any problems right now. We did break below 38.50 though, so looks like traders weren't too happy with that. I'm seeing a lot of action in it though. Some and not wow, was that a 50,000 share order that just wow, that was huge. That was really big. That was a big order
Big
that just ran by.
And the price just ticked a little bit lower there.
Yeah.
You mentioned that 38.50 level. Don't forget to mention also touched 39.01. Couldn't hold above it. Couldn't hold the 39 level. Now we're coming back down. Let me zoom out a little bit.
Man, back on the daily, we don't even have anything to compare this to.
I was just gonna
very
say
recently.
I don't see very much. Dang it.
I mean, we'd have to go back to like a weekly or something here, and on a weekly,
Wow. Okay, so look at that. What do we got? What year are we looking at here? Looking back at the end of last year, you did see the stock test 39 unsuccessfully a number of times. So I'm looking at least like, I don't know, probably a good 10 times or so. I tried to break 39, couldn't do it. Couldn't hold above it, I should say. It broke through it a couple times, but couldn't hold over that level. And you're sort of seeing the same thing today.
Despite all the problems the stock had, it never broke below that $30 level from what I see right now. At least not last year when it was having all those scandals. Was able to hold on to that.
Held even 31 bucks. Man, that is a tight range over the last year.
Absolutely. Traders know where they want to keep that one, so definitely an interesting one to watch.
It's kind of a funny stock. We always look at it, Jake, because we're always looking at some of the pre-market movers, and this thing always gets crazy volume in the morning. It's usually moving lower. I don't know if there is just like a community of traders out there who sort of trade Carnival in the pre-market session. But remember, this is also a European exchange, European ticker out there, so. It could be, I've never really thought about this, it could be that people are sort of trading it in the UK and in Europe and then kind of transitioning that into the pre-market session in the US.
So perhaps some arbitrage being carried over by the market makers.
Maybe.
Another one I want to take a look at is KB Homes. We had those poor earnings this morning. Thanks for breaking in earlier with those earnings. Going to move over to the intraday chart. We had strength in Lennar yesterday, strong housing starts and building permits yesterday, which generally that's a good sign for the housing sector. KB Homes got some strength, especially on the market rally towards the end of the day. When we had the close, it traded pretty flat. Right before earnings this morning, it ticked up and then just collapsed. Held on to that $17 level though, and then has rallied since. 17.18 is the last trade that I'm seeing. So kind of coming back a little bit. I know that earlier this morning we were saying that it was holding above that $17 level. Well, it seems to still be doing that. So gonna keep an eye on KB Homes, which is Kilo Bravo Hotel on today's session, along with some of the other home builders. Let's see what the XHB. That's one of the home building ETFs. I want to see where that's at 31.84 is what I'm seeing there. Did break above $32 yesterday, but and it looks like it closed right around 32, but broke below that pretty quickly on the KB Homes report. It's been chopping all over the place and it has had a lot of trouble holding above 32 bucks. So that's a level to watch if we get some bullish news. Perhaps it would take a lot to break above that, but it would be interesting to see where that goes.
Man, what a setup for some disappointment in KB Homes.
I know, right?
Up 3% yesterday. Traders getting a little optimistic on it, saying, okay, we got some other home builders reporting some good numbers. We got some good some good econ data. Maybe I'll trade that KB Homes a little bit higher. Whoopsie daisy.
One more stock I want to take a look at is Facebook after Mark Zuckerberg said he's going to sell, was it 42 million shares? Something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Huge block of shares, $2.3 billion of stock roughly. So if you want to talk about large secondary offerings, talk about the founder and CEO selling off a large block of his shares. I'm interested in seeing what percentage of the company that is he's selling off, because one of the things that is interesting about Facebook is Mark Zuckerberg is one of the few founders that managed to hang on to a massive chunk of his company. We're talking over 25% of control of the company is in Mark Zuckerberg's hands, and that's why he was so easily kept control as CEO when he was having trouble.
I think in the morning headlines today it said that the sale of his shares would reduce his stake in the company by like 3%.
Okay. So I mean that's significant, and it's just interesting to see because when he was under fire from obviously all the pundits in the news and some hedge fund managers saying that he should step down as CEO, was it last year when the stock was down in the teens. Basically they couldn't do anything about it because he held on to 1/4 of the votes that were out there. So tough to go against someone like that. It doesn't take a whole lot to hold on to that. Do have a heads up from Dennis that Oracle is hitting new highs, so I want to pull that up. Oscar Romeo Charlie Lima is the ticker there. 36.33 is what I'm seeing. Gonna zoom out. Wow, that's looking great. It's been very very choppy chart on the weekly, but we have broken through. Keeping an eye on that. 36.27 is the last trade that I'm seeing on Oracle. So keep an eye on that one for today's session.
Hey, real quick, Jake.
Yep.
There's a bit of a disclaimer on that Facebook news.
Sure.
Zuckerberg using the majority of the proceeds to pay taxes he will incur in connection with exercising of an option to purchase 60 million shares.
So wait, he's selling 40 million shares so he can exercise an option to buy 60 million shares?
He's selling 40 million shares because he needs to cover his butt for taxes so that he can buy 60 million shares. So
he's actually going to be net positive 20 million shares.
Yes, effectively. So I mean, if you ask me, it's more of a headline. It's something that the media is definitely going to grab onto. But I don't know that shareholders should be exactly too concerned about it. In my opinion,
shares are testing that $55 level, sitting at $54.90 right now. We are close to the end of the show today, so I do want to give a quick heads up. Tomorrow we will be having Adam Button of Forex Live. He's the editor over there to talk some macro and to talk 2014 with us as we prepare for this coming year. Brent, what kind of earnings are we expecting tomorrow? I don't know if you got those pulled up.
Oh man, that was awesome. I was gonna say, wait, don't go yet. We got earnings. Let's see. We got a couple of good earnings actually. After the close tonight, we're gonna get Red Hat. We're gonna get Pier 1 Imports. We're gonna get Cintas.
Get Nike.
I was saving the best for last. Getting Nike after the close today, and then tomorrow, before the open, we're gonna get Walgreens. We're gonna get Navistar, CarMax. We are also gonna get the Finish Line, and then, as we were discussing a little bit earlier, we're gonna get BlackBerry results tomorrow before the open.
BlackBerry and Walgreens will be very interesting, especially with Walgreens with Rite Aid having reported today. That will be pretty big. So with that, I think we're going to close down the show. Thank you for joining us, everyone out there listening in. We will be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for joining us on Pre-Market Info. We will talk to you later. Happy trading.